Advisory Committee on Aeronautics. And that's when space is actually more privatized, rather than what we see now at NASA, which is more government-funded and government-led. And actually, what we see NASA now is not like aggressive, right? They just do like military, they just do like research for life, health reasons. But what the NACA was, is it was researching flight technology, but it was also researching warfare fighting within space as well. Yeah?
What agency is NASA?
The National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics, the NACA. The president that made NASA what we think NASA is today was JFK. He focused on sending astronauts to the moon by the end of the 1960s. And through projects called Mercury and Gemini, NASA developed the technology and skills it needed to get to that moon. Now what NASA does is they have things called Centennial Challenges. Centennial is C-E-N-T-E-N-N-I-A-L. Centennial Challenges. Does anyone know what those are? Huh?
Every 100 years.
You got it. Say it one time.
Every 100 years they have a huge challenge due, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. It is, I don't know if it's 100 years. It's really just people submit grants or ideas for technology that NASA should do, but they're non-government teams. And the challenge includes the task of implementing a vision for space, is the term that they use. And in February of 2010, NASA announced that it would be awarding $50 million in contracts to commercial spaceflight companies, meaning that they have now made the shift from government-sponsored space exploration to shifting towards private space commercial flight, where it's not even about exploration anymore, but instead seeing space as a leisure at some level. And the goal of the Centennial Project is to design and develop viable, reusable launch vehicles. NASA has a couple goals that they kind of have listed on their website. Goal 1 is to stop ozone depletion. 2, which I don't really know what this is salt evaporation and energy management. I have zero clue what salt evaporation does in space. I tried looking for like 30 minutes. You actually know? Oh, man. Yeah, go ahead. Salt evaporation and energy management. They also look for medicine and how to use medicine in space or get medicine from space. And the last one is what they call Earth Science Enterprises. And what that is it's a test and deployment of science instruments and technology that study the Earth's orbit. Satellites. I don't know what I thought. Questions so far? It's called Earth Science Enterprises. Now, a lot of these, because I'm thinking this point of this topic is somewhat of a counterplan discussion, right? Who can act within space domestically or internationally? The problem with domestically is either it will be an NGO, a private corporation, or you'll have just the federal government do it in most debates. Because the way that we've developed our space program is that multiple offices or multiple different sub-branches all interact with the space program or add some part to it. So I'm not necessarily sure if the domestic part has a bunch of counterplans, but I necessarily think that this information is probably pertinent in any debate that you'll be in of who acts or does specific tasks with the United States space program. To me, most of the discussion will come from NASA, I would think. Okay? International actors. What do you think is our biggest international competition in space? Au contraire, my friends, no.
And as the world celebrates the 50th anniversary of the first human in space, China is rapidly building up its own space technology. Yang Liwei, the first Chinese to follow in the footsteps of Gagarin, says the nation is aiming to build its own space station by 2020.
For the second half of this year, we will realize the unmanned docking between the module space station and our spaceship Shenzhou 8. The current plan is to build our own space station by 2020, which will consist of 4 capsules and 2 experiment capsules. When this is completed, we will have our own space laboratory.
The unmanned docking involves Tiangong-1, China's module for a space station, and Shenzhou 8, an unmanned flight for the program. Both have undergone tests and experiments for the docking. A further plan for China's space endeavour is the launching of Shenzhou 9 and Shenzhou 10 next year, which will realise the manned docking of spaceships. Currently, the astronauts for this task are undergoing training.
I think that this clip represents the international competition that we have over space and space exploration. China represents a strong and powerful growing force to compete with the United States for space exploration and development. That doesn't mean that it's the only one. So there are a couple of different actors internationally. The first is Europe. That sounds weird, but they have like a EU of space functionally. It was established in 1975, and it's called the European Space Association. It is an intergovernmental organization, meaning that there are different countries who either fund, research, or participate in the agency. And it is a flight program that includes human space flight, mainly through the participation of the International Space Station, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It launches and operates unmanned exploration missions. It is invested in science telecommunications. And it's supported by countries like France, Germany, Spain, Belgium, Finland, the Czech Republic. Most surprising one was Canada. Canada actually is like the 4th largest donator to the European Space Agency, which is funny because they have their own space program. That's pretty good. They do a lot of money, right? Yeah. Say one more time. Oh, Canada? Canada's like the 3rd or 4th highest funder.
What was the European Space Association?
Founded? 1975. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Germany also has a pretty good space program. It's called the German Aerospace Center. Its primary focus is not only aerospace, but energy and transportation research. They call it the DLR because it's like German words that I don't know, but that's its acronym, it's DLR. Its mission comprises the exploration of Earth and the solar system, pretty generic, as well as research aimed at protecting the environment and developing environmentally compatible technologies. One of their big projects now is how do we take what we understand as environmental conservation and bring it to space. So they're about like finding water in space, how do we create oxygen within space, how do we create livable habitats within space. But they're like big giant hippies, so they try to do it like the most green possible way, which I don't really know if you do that. Next one, good old Russia.
The Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1 in October 1957, and the space race began. Soviet cosmonauts chalked up a list of firsts. Yuri Gagarin, pilot of Vostok 1, the first human in space. Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space. Through the 1970s and 80s, the goal of a manned space station was achieved with the Salyut space missions. 1995, an historic moment as the U.S. Space Shuttle Atlantis docks with the Russian Mir, or Peace, space station, the first of 9 planned U.S.-Russian link-ups. It was a reminder of how the space race and the world have changed in 40 years.
I think this actually answers why you all thought Russia was the first one. While still competition, Russia actually works mostly with the United States now in like joint forces where they talked about how they connected up at the International Space Station. It originally was that a lot of space information and technology and developments were kept secret from the rest of the world. But within the last decade, Russia has been sharing that information, particularly with the International Space Station and the United States, to have joint efforts to develop. Their biggest thing is to colonize. They want to see when we can move to space. That's like their biggest thing now. But Russia has a 60-year history with space, and the video kind of talks about it. They've had a lot of firsts. First satellite, first animal in space, first human in space, first woman in space, the first spacewalk, the first moon impact, the first space station to be constructed. So they pioneered a lot of what we come to understand to be space exploration today. Ironically enough, they've not fallen by the wayside, but they've kind of dropped in not only the amount of money that they put into their space, well, that's untrue. They actually have the highest amount of money that they put into their own space program, but they have like not as many developments or technological advancements as countries like Germany or the United States or Japan have been creating lately. Japan used to have multiple different different space agencies throughout the government, and it caused a bunch of problems. So there was so much bureaucracy that there was never productive research put out. They could never. There was too much infighting for them to ever get anything done. So on October 1st in 2003, it became what they call JAXA, J-A-X-A is their acronym. It's an independent administrative institution. And in Japan, it's administered or overseen by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology. I think it's really awesome they have a Ministry of Sports.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, totally. It is ran or administered or overseen by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology. JAXA is responsible for not only research, technology development, and the launch of satellites into orbit. It is also involved in more advanced missions like asteroid exploration. The goals of this program, they have a couple of them. And they actually just outlined them about a year ago. First is lunar and interplanetary missions, meaning they just want to go to like Mars is their next goal. An astronomy program, meaning they study the stars and galaxies and black holes. What their program is called is technology test, is what it translates to English. And what its goal is to make satellites faster for internet connections. Yeah, I know, right? That's intense. I think internet's fast now, but... And so what they want to do is they want to make it so the information flow from Japan to their space stations are substantially faster. When that's developed, they would use it for public use. They're also really big into environmental conservation. So they study a lot of rainfall and carbon dioxide emissions and carbon dioxide in space. And they actually own, because it's more privatized, they own other satellites for other agencies, like weather satellites, telecommunication satellites, private satellites. Yeah?
Did you say carbon monoxide or carbon
dioxide? All right, now I'll go on my Wikipedia rant real quick. A lot of people say that Wikipedia is stupid, and it kind of is, because people can change it and they can alter it, and that makes sense, and you can just like add whatever you want about China's space program and whatever. But my suggestion to you is, it is a good starting point. And on Wikipedia, when you type in list of space agencies at Wikipedia, it presents to you, if I almost had the link but I forgot it.